last day of our pilgrimage together. Interesting that I find myself in this cave at this moment. Many people won't know. I came here by myself 19 years ago with one lay steward and my younger brother. And first time I was invited to Ajanta Caves, I didn't know they existed. I hadn't done any research, and but one student in California wanted to go, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama was giving some teachings at Sera Monastery in southern India, so we came here first, and then we went down to Belakupe in Karnataka state. I attended some teachings of His Holiness. My memories of this place, I remember being touched by the Avalokiteshvara statue. We're going to do some chanting, but I also had my first experience of a North Indian head cold. So I remember the whole thing is a pretty vague and fuzzy experience, but it's nice to be back. One thing that has changed in Ajanta and Ellora compared to 19 years ago is the amount of people. So what has happened in India is a much larger middle class, a much larger phenomenon of Indian tourists having day trips. So it wasn't so possible to give many Dhamma reflections as we went to these places. But as you observed, if we're determined, get up earlier, get there first, then we get some quiet time opens up. If we stay until closing, a little bit more quiet time opens up. Have to be more determined. So, about 2/3 of the group were in Bodh Gaya. So we visited the site of the Enlightenment. We visited where the Bodhisattva practiced austerities, 6 years. We visited where Sujata offered the milk rice. We visited the place Nigoda Banyan Goatsherd tree, Lord Buddha reflecting on the 5 spiritual powers, etc. We visited the first monastery of Elavana and considered the life of Venerable Sariputta. We visited his birthplace and his Parinibbana place, Nalanda. And Velavana was where Lord Buddha met his chief disciples. We did a puja in a cave where Sariputta became an arahant. We did a puja on Vulture's Peak. And so I wanted to say that I'm 98.5% pleased with this group's behavior. Is that an A+? Two. We had a changeover mid-course. My previous pilgrimages, I was quite attached to the idea of leading the perfect pilgrimage where people went to all of the places and did lots of practice. And but the problem with that, 18 days, 19 days, 21 days, is it's expensive. And a lot of people can't get that much time off work. So I ended up being self-made millionaires and semi-retired people, no young people. So I thought, well, no, I should be a bit more flexible. Made the 9-day option and the 14-day option. And so here we are. But as a leader of a pilgrimage of 14 days in Bihar, Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra, under somewhat stressful circumstances, compared to the amount of sense impingement most people have in their daily life compared to what we practice with here, there wasn't a single occasion where somebody came and said to me, Ajahn, this person is so and so, he keeps doing this and she keeps doing that and do something about it. Not once, which is actually pretty amazing, you know. The level of harmony, the level of forgiveness, the level of cooperation. So Anumodana, anyone want to know what your 1.5% failure was? You're being stuck at the breakfast table. Your inertia. when the time has been announced to what time we will be leaving, and the monks are on the bus already, and you are looking into your coffee cup. But I understand. I think on another level, there's a part of the mind that knows out there is the bumpy road and the dust, the mala sellers, all of my friends. Remember me? Remember me? Shop 3, shop 3. You promised, you promised. Don't forget, don't forget. Yesterday, coming out of Ajanta, you know that row of shops? I've coined it Alligator Alley. They jump on you like... I thought, you know what I need to survive this? I need myself a bit of creative visualization. I decided that Victor was Jackie Chan. And I grabbed onto the back of him and I said, okay, we're just going to dash through this. And I grabbed onto his strap of his man bag. And I said, go, go, go. And they literally came in a wall. My shop, 1 minute, 1 minute. Look, special price, drink, Mante, Guru, remember, friend. I'm like, Buddha. Back, Victor, just go, Victor, Buddha. Got on the bus and they're like throwing their malas against the window. So that's an interesting phenomenon we have to practice with. And of course, part of the reason they consider me their friend is in the previous years, because they all remember me, you're the one that got that thing at that shop and paid double. They remember. That's that kind one that eventually gives in. So we have compassion. It is a difficult life. They wouldn't behave that way if they had enough, you know. So one tries to have compassion, but the frustrating, challenging thing here is when you do try to help, all of the other people come, my shop, me, mine. Anyway, so we've all been practicing with that, and I think we have practiced very well with it, you know. People haven't been yelling and losing their temper. People have been kind, and we've tried to help people when we could. But the main point to come to Ajanta and Ellora was, there weren't many periods of quiet time that opened up, because one of the challenges with stone caves is you only need one chatty person in there and the quiet is gone. So if you stick in your earplugs and you're determined to meditate, you can, but with regards to giving Dhamma reflections, it's a challenge. What I think we did observe is in Ajanta, 1,100 years of Buddhist practice. And so for a period it was Theravada, for a period it was Mahayana, for a period it was Vajrayana. It received support from royals, obviously received support from a lot of merchants. Apparently the way it worked was there was a trade route wandering by, and merchants would also stay and also make merit. So part of the Indian culture, believing in making merit with spiritual seekers. So the same thing that we see now. Many of you support monasteries. We've all been involved in supporting the modern incarnation of Buddhist infrastructure to support practice. I have a somewhat artistic sensibilities, artistic temperament, and some of you were probably thinking, why did we come here? What's such a nutshell trying to teach us? There may have been moments. What I do, rather than talk a lot, is I try to get people to spiritually powerful places where there's tremendous energy of faith, and then force you to practice more than you would normally. And I have faith that when I do that, you'll get some benefit from it. What kind of benefit? Many people, I think, experienced deeper types of rapture than in the past. So when Shivani recited the Nibbana Sutta in the cave number 26, how many of you felt rapture? Did any of you feel teary? I had tears streaming down my eyes from the first syllable to the last one, and what I think was occurring there was that the devas came. I think I can't say this is a fact. I'm just telling you what my feeling is. My feeling is there There were so many devas there with such joy. And because they have supple bodies and they're very close to us, when they come to that place, many people would have picked up on their rapture, and then that manifests as kind of tears streaming down your face. And there's something I believe valuable about feeling the faith of hundreds of generations that came before us, and the faith of beings in parallel realms. Something that this does to our own faith faculty, because a lot of modern people have faith in the concept, they have faith in the idea. But faith has a spiritual power. In the 37 Bodhipakkya Dhammas, you have faith mentioned as a faculty. So faith is there as a faculty in human beings. But it's not yet a power unless it's in the right place, unless we've learned how to make it powerful. So the thing about deepening faith and connecting with the faith of others, there's a shared faith of the hundreds of generations of Buddhist practitioners, is that then you tap into something you can feel that's incredibly powerful enough to turn a cliff face into 26 caves of viharas and chetis and beautiful statues. The faith powerful enough to turn mountains into monasteries, to turn rock into beautiful art. And of course, the monks were teaching dana, sila and bhavana. That's what they were teaching. These places were made to encourage people to be generous, to be ethical, to cultivate their minds. And I believe in the quiet moments you can feel that. You can feel that many tens of thousands of people experience peacefulness in these places. They did cultivate their minds. They did experience the result of that. The reason I like to help modern people deepen the breadth of their faith is because really, really powerful and strong faith has implications. If you really believe in Buddha Dhamma, you have to act in a way that honors that. If your faith becomes really deeply, truly powerful, you really believe, okay, this is the path that leads to the cessation of suffering, and this is what I'm most deeply committed to, well then it's not that difficult to commit to the daily meditation practice. It's not that difficult to be determined with the ethical precepts. It's like if you have tremendous faith, the energy is there to do what you need to do. Remember at the end of some of the suttas, done is what is to be done. Lived is the holy life. Done is what is to be done. There is no more coming into any type of birth. So that's what we need to do. We need to do what is to be done. And that's why we deepen our faith. So when you go to the site of the enlightenment, it deepens your faith. The Buddha really got enlightened here, as did the previous 3 Buddhas, as will the next one. And then when we went to the place where he set the wheel of Dhamma in motion, this is where the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Paths were taught. And Anya Kondanya attained streametry here. The Panchavagi became arahants here. It becomes very real. It's not just something you read in your chanting book, it's like. And when we chant it there, you can feel something. You can just feel like this is really profound. This is, our ultimate potential. We're talking about getting in touch with and honouring and cultivating our ultimate potential, which will lead to the cessation of suffering for us. So that's why I've been dragging you all around India. And I believe you did accumulate potent spiritual merit. And I believe that when you recollect these, the photos are very helpful. When you look at the photos in the future, when you remember these places. And particularly at the time of death, it's a very good time to think about the pilgrimages you've done. One of the ways, in my experience, the real merit of pilgrimage manifests is that when you recollect the occasion when you were there, you feel some happiness. It's like the merit of it is there, and you become skilled at tapping into that merit. When you recollect paying respects with deep faith of the Bodhi tree, the joy that you felt, the gratitude, the respect, the awe, when you think of that, you get a similar feeling. And we can train ourselves to do this. This is our Chakanusati, recollecting the good things that we've done. When you recollect chanting the Dhammacakka Sutta, the Anatalakkhana Sutta, at the Dhammika Stupa, the deer park, again, there's feelings of gladness that you did that. Even though the air quality was PM2.5 of 460. Very beautiful photographs, looks very mystical haze. But when we think of it, we feel glad that we did it. Chanting the Heart Sutra in Mandarin, listening to it in Korean, on Vulture's Peak Mountain early in the morning, in 10 degrees, surrounded by fog. I mean, it wasn't easy, right? Stomping up that mountain on an empty stomach and shivering in the cold. But when you listen to the Heart Sutra in 3 languages and you're there as the light comes and you're on Vulture's Peak alone, it's how many people felt very blissfully happy on that occasion. So that's a very nice memory to remember, sitting on top of Vulture's Peak Mountain early in the morning. So I want to encourage you to recollect the places we've been, and just as a way of wrapping up the pilgrimage, like just where have we been? For the people that came just for the last part, just recollecting, we've been visiting caves that were built since the 2nd century BC to the 6th century, 800 years, and then in Ellora, 7th and 8th century. So 1,000 years of Buddhist practice in these parts. And just remember, what was it like to walk on stone steps that millions of other Buddhists have walked on? What was it like to bow your head on the stone that millions of other Buddhists bowed to? It's special. It's archetypal, it's sacred, it transcends the limited self-view. You're part of the... When Sumedha saw Dipankara, Buddha, he was apparently an incredibly gifted rishi, looking down on this Buddha with his following, and he was aware that he could become an arahant on that day if he went and listened to a teaching by the Buddha, because his parami was so ripe, so ready. But he had the thought, knowing my strengths, suppose I were to lead a multitude to cross over. So that's when Sumedha made the aspiration to become a teaching Buddha. So you're part of the multitude, right? You're part of the multitude that Shakyamuni Buddha, Gautama Buddha is helping. And if we don't finish in this life, you'll be part of the multitude that Maitreya Buddha helps to cross over. So it's nice just to check in with that. In Thailand, they called it the Buddha Bodhisattva, the Buddhist company of Buddhists. It's a huge karmic web of people with auspicious karmic connections who've been practicing for thousands of lives together. Or it probably starts as just being kind to one another, hearing some teachings on Dana, getting some teachings on Sila, keeping more precepts, being more generous, have more virtue, meet more and more wise people, start to reflect, listen more intelligently. As your mind brightens up, gets more sensitive, you start to wonder, why is there suffering? What's the meaning of life? You start to question these things, you ask these wise questions to spiritual practitioners. When you ask these questions sincerely, really think about it, you meet more wise people. You get born with more intelligence. Eventually you have enough barami to meet Buddha Dhamma, and the Satya Dhamma, as taught by Lumpur Man and Lumpur Cha in this enlightenment lineage. A lot of practice has happened in your past lives, really a lot, and it's good to be confident of that. And then it's also good not to take it for granted, like you want to keep doing it, recollecting how much good effort has already been made. We have to take the advantage of the current. When we come here and you see all of the tourists at Ajanta, overwhelming majority of them are not paying any reverence to the Buddha. It's just another place. We come with a mind of faith, and we pay respects to Buddha images all the time, so for us, it's a very holy place. But Maharashtra has 1,200 cave temples, and to the Hindu population, the Buddha is some kind of minor avatar of Vishnu. and to them Rama and Krishna is more important, and the Buddha is this character that means something to the untouchables. He's not the Dharma wheel turner leading the multitude to cross over into Nibbana, how we understand him. But that's your good fortune. You have the merit to know the Buddha is special. The Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. And when we see Buddha, we feel reverence, we feel gratitude, we want to pay respects. That increases our merit, increases our affinity. So I just want you to recollect on what we've been doing, feel really good about it. You know, the fact that you had to use your resources to come on this tour, get the time off work. Probably about a third of the group is unwell now. Compared to previous groups, it's about day 4 or day 5, half the group is sick, so we've done very well. Day 14, 15, about 20% of the group is a little bit sick. We've done pretty good. People could have gone on a holiday to a tropical island and drunk coconut shakes or whatever else, got massages. And you didn't. You came and you breathed dirty air and worked with crowds and practiced with the dust and the cold and the heat and so I rejoice in that, the sacrifice, and you can feel good about it. But then remember those moments where you did feel more rapture. Remember those moments where you did feel deeper faith. And then train yourself in being able to recollect that, because on your journey towards liberation, which for most people takes a few lifetimes, even if you practice hard, it's going to take a few lifetimes. So at that time of dying, this is what you want to be able to remember. Like one of the things I did yesterday was when I felt like the pilgrimage was kind of over, my main part of leading the pilgrimage was over when we finished the Dhammacakka Sutra in Cave 6, and I dedicated the merit in a very particular way with regards how I want my death and my rebirth to occur. So that you have to do that as well. You have to think about where you want to go when you die. So one of the best aspirations is, due to this merit, may I be born in a situation where I can continue to practice Buddha Dhamma. And then whatever your aspiration is, whether that is stream entry as quickly as possible, whether that is Arahant with psychic powers, whether that is chief disciple, whether that is Pacceka Buddha or Buddha, celestial bodhisattva, we've got an eclectic bunch among us. I think most of you on the Sotapanna as fast as possible, but there's a few people who are nursing bigger aspirations. Whatever it is, now's the time to dedicate the merit and recollect the merit and make that aspiration. I mentioned previously when I was visiting good friend Malin on her deathbed, a founding committee member of my monastery. Because she had such faith and she'd been to India with me 12 times, and I was able to just remind her, she's like ripe for being reminded, and she had great faith in the great disciples. I said, Malin, remember Visakha? Do you remember when we went to Savatthi? She said, yes. You remember Visakha? You remember Anathapindika? You can go and see them now. They're in Tushita heaven. Go and be with them. Recollect your merit. She had great faith in me. She had great faith in merit. She had great faith in these beings. So she just did as she was instructed. Sadhu Tanata, Sadhu Ka. And then reminding her, how many times you've been on pilgrimage? She wrote the letter that she wanted read at her funeral. I did this many retreats with Ajahn Jayasaro. I went to India this many times with Ajahn Achalo. She wrote that letter for her sister to read out at her funeral. So she was doing that. She was doing her Chaganisati, recollecting the good things that she'd done in her life, the merit that she made. And apparently, according to some monks with good abilities, she was born in Tushita heaven. And being born in Tushita heaven is not easy, because normally a person needs to be somewhat adept at Upajjhara Samadhi. And I don't think Malin was. I'm sure she had it sometimes. But she was probably working more with Kanika, the momentary concentration when chanting, when listening to Dhamma talks. But the fact that she'd made so much potent merit, and the fact that she was able to recollect that as she was dying, then obviously she had monks visiting and chanting and spreading metta to her as well, increasing her concentration as she was dying. So this is just mentioning to you, I might not be there when you're dying. So to be able to do this yourself. Recollect the good things you've done, the katinas, the retreats, the monasteries, the Krupa Ajans, the pilgrimages. But because it's such a powerful experience, like leaving your life, coming to these places, they do leave very deep imprints in the mind. I just want to encourage you to recollect it, so that when that time comes, it's a kind of a file that's easily retrievable. You want it to be something that you get skilled at recollecting. It's the Chaganusati Samatha practice, one of the ways to make the mind peaceful and then receptive to developing further insight. So I rejoice in your practice. I forgive you for being slow to finish your breakfast. And now we will do our puja.